Hi guys, welcome to my channel, 2023 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, the People's Duchess. If you're just joining me for the first time, a huge shout out to the newbies. If you're a returning squatty or subscriber, welcome back. So glad you guys are here. I am super juiced about today's episode. This episode is going to cover Meghan's soft power on the global stage. I asked you guys what you wanted, and the people have spoken. This episode takes on how she came to be in that power and what that power meant and how she chose to wield that power. Now, as I understand it, some of you may not know exactly what soft power is, so let me start by explaining soft power. In politics, and particularly in international politics, soft power is the ability to co-opt rather than coerce. It involves shaping the preferences of others through appeal and attraction. Soft power is non-coercive. It uses culture, political values, morals, and foreign policy to enact change. In 2012, Joseph Nye of Harvard University explained that with soft power, the best propaganda is no propaganda, further explaining that during the information age, credibility is the scarcest resource. Sound familiar? This guy literally wrote the book on soft power and went on to popularize the term in his 1990 book, Bound to Lead: The Changing Nature of American Power. In this book, he wrote, when one country gets other countries to want what it wants, it might be called co-optive or soft power. This is in deep contrast with the hard or command power of ordering others to do what it wants. He further developed the concept in his 2004 book, Soft Power: The Means to Success in World Politics. His observations teaches us that soft power is better than hard power because of the decreased risk to execute and longer lasting implications. It takes someone with superior intellect to obtain soft power influence over governments and officials because anyone can be violent, but it takes an intellectual and an intelligent person to get their way without it. This method of diplomacy also yields longer lasting results and relationships due to the fact that at its core foundation is that of honesty and integrity, not violence and authoritarianism or fear. So this obviously leads to a cultivated sense of trust between the parties. And lastly, soft power, when performed as outlined here correctly, de-escalates conflict with the least resistance from all parties. So Meghan has certainly perfected this soft diplomacy, and this checklist from Professor Nye's books confirms that she had it down perfectly and was able to apply these methods to engage and ultimately win over the hearts of literally everyone she spoke to, which luckily included several dignitaries, presidents, premiers, and other heads of state types. So let's get into Meghan's historic ascension to the world throne way before she met Harry. In December 2014, Meghan went on a USO tour of 5 countries, along with country star Kelly Pickler, comedian Rob Riggle, Glee star Diana Agron, former Chicago Bears linebacker Brian Urlacher, and then Washington Nationals pitcher Doug Fister. She also went with the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Army General Martin Dempsey, and his wife. So Meghan visited Spain, Italy, Turkey, Afghanistan, and England during her tour and entertained thousands of service members and their families. Now, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is the highest ranked military officer in the United States defense hierarchy and second only to the commander-in-chief, which is the president himself. The Dempseys both gushed over Meghan as well, adding that although this was the 4th USO holiday tour they'd been on, they both said it had been their favorite one thus far. And this is how Meghan came to be invited to the White House and met President Obama before she became a royal. Now, if you guys are wondering what it takes to get onto a USO tour, wonder no more. For I, your royal expert BFF, am here to break it down for you. Getting on a USO tour involves several levels of clearance. You have to be thoroughly vetted and approved by the Pentagon and the White House. You have to pass interviews with the chiefs of staff and top military officials. Your family has to be vetted and approved. They also undergo a thorough background check down to their finances to make sure that you and your family members have no debts or other financial dealings that can be used as leverage should, goodness forbid, you guys be taken hostage in a foreign country or something of that nature. They don't have anything compromising on you in which they can leverage you or the US government against. So 2 things to note here. These tours are not Ronald McDonald House charity volunteers. You have to get security clearance and your family have to be cleared as well. In addition to working on this video for the background, I also personally know this because I have level 1 confidential security clearance as a civilian contractor with the DoD. My company, many of you know, deals with robotics engineering, and we have contracts with the Department of Defense. I can tell you firsthand, it is a rigorous ordeal. You and your immediate family have to be prepared for the probing. So to all the particularly greasy gremlins who claim Doria had either a drug problem or was incarcerated, if that were the case, Meghan would not have been able to do this tour. She was not high enough in the political pecking order like the former president's son-in-law to have a family member be flagged for clearance issues and still be approved anyways. Again, they don't give this to you because you're pretty. They don't give this to you because you're nice. This is a matter of national security. She's not going anywhere if Doria was a convicted felon. So if you're out here spreading that lie about Queen Doria, you really should get some help. This is 2023. Nobody believes you. Nobody. We are not believing some random faceless troll on the internet hollering about how terrible Meghan or her mother is based on nothing. If she was in jail, the multiple Freedom of Information Act requests the British press have obtained to stalk the Sussexes, and particularly Meghan, even before she got married, would have revealed that. Now, I don't know what country you losers are tuning in from, but in America, arrests are a matter of public record, and Doria's mugshot would have been plastered everywhere by now. You don't even need a FOIA act for that. All you have to do is look up the person's name in any county jail database. It is literally that easy. All you need is their name and their birthday. But y'all know she's never spent a day in jail. You know she hasn't. You know she doesn't have so much as a jaywalking ticket. Your fury with Meghan being both black and better than you is extended for absolutely no reason at all to her mom, who's never on record done anything wrong to anyone, never said anything bad about anybody, who you also want so badly to be a stereotypical racist caricature of a black woman. You want so badly for her not to be a master's degree holding psychology laureate social worker with the same penchant for yoga and healthy lifestyle and beautiful soul that she has passed on to her daughter. So stop trying to make fetch happen. Fetch will never happen. You are never going to convince anyone that Doria was in jail or was a drug addict. And none of you have made a fake mugshot or rap sheet because you'd have to include the arresting police department information on it. And that's too easy to fact check, too easy to prove fake. So again, it is not lost on any of us that you keep your identities as hidden as possible, because you know that if we went digging into your life and peeled back even just the first layer of that onion with just a quick free internet background search, we'd find arrests and rap sheets longer than the Great Wall of China. So yeah, moving right along. In Meghan's September 2022 keynote speech for One Young World Summit in Manchester, she recalled meeting former President of Ireland, Mary Robinson. The Duchess of Sussex first met Mrs. Robinson at a summit in Ottawa, Canada in 2016, and said Mrs. Robinson was one of the people I admire the most. Meghan has been a long-time youth mentor for the One Young World organization and worked closely alongside some of the biggest names in power there is, including Sir Bob Geldof and Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, who also gave keynote addresses at that same summit last year. Now, in this picture alone are some of the biggest movers and shakers on the planet, including former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan, Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, the CEOs of Barclays was there, the CEO of Unilever was there, the CEO of Wikipedia was there, Mark Pollock, Boris Becker, Dame Ellen MacArthur, and James Chow. Now look, I don't have time to break down each person's accomplishments from this photo and their titles, but you can definitely Google them after we're done here and take in the enormity of this image for yourself. It's a big deal. Meghan has also said of the organization, when I was asked to be a counselor at One Young World, my response was a resounding yes. One Young World invites young adults from all over the world who are actively working to transform the socio-political landscape by being the greater good. They are delegates who are speaking out against human rights violations, environmental crises, gender equality issues, discrimination, and injustice. They are the change. In 2016, Meghan was also given top billing alongside Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and acclaimed Unilever CEO Paul Pullman, whose company has famously championed humanitarian causes since its inception, and who is also a KBE, which is a Knight Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for his efforts. So yeah, Meghan was holding audience with these dignitaries, diplomats, and quiet power giants. She was already there talking to princesses for the TIG and then turning around talking to knight commanders of the most excellent orders for her humanitarian work. Now, I'm going to put on my body language expert hat here for a moment. I can be a body language expert too, right? I mean, on the internet, all you need is a mic and well, that's pretty much it. I mean, I have at least the added benefit of a bachelor's in psychology. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and be a body language expert. These two are seated close together. They are leaning into each other, showing that they are both very engaged in the conversation. The animated dialogue is clearly highlighted by the slight smiles on their face while they're talking. The discussion is deep. The discussion is meaningful. And you get that hint because the eyes are intense and razor focused. This body language tells me that Meghan is totally holding her own in this conversation, and that the man is impressed but cool about it. He's likely thinking to himself, man, I've met all kinds of knuckleheads of state out there, and this woman is running circles around all of them. Furthermore, you're highly aware that these are two people who are deeply respectful. These are peers. There is no subservient posturing on her part. She's not shrinking. She's not twiddling her thumbs or hair, indicating any intimidation or shyness whatsoever. Her hand is up confidently, highlighting whatever point that she is driving home. This is body language of two people who see themselves on the same stage and are passionate about the same things, and the connection is real. Beyond their professional connection, you can tell that they respect each other as people. I would like to drive home this point with the following contrasting imagery, okay? This is Ivanka Trump at the G20 summit in 2019, where it could not have been any more clear that not only did she not wield any power, soft or otherwise, the people in the room with her resented her presence there. Before we look at that, let us look at a comparable picture. So this is Theresa May. She is engaged in vivid conversation with then Managing Director for the International Monetary Fund, Christine Lagarde. Christine is clearly engaged in the conversation. Again, she's leaning in to hear what Ms. May is saying. Her shoulders are relaxed and natural. Again, we see these slightly upturned corners of the mouth, indicating a pleasantness and willingness to engage in the conversation. And she's got that razor focus on the speaker, showing her that respect and giving Theresa May that space and time to talk. These are two peers. They look like and are acting like they respect each other, and the conversation is pertinent to both of them. Now, there is a break in the conversation, and Ivanka tries to chime in. And you can see how that relaxed, intent, and respectful body language completely changes from Christine. Her guard is up. She immediately literally turns her full body, not just her head, but her entire body away from the speaker. And she has what I can only describe as an exasperated, almost pained expression on her face here. She is not giving Ivanka a single ounce of respect. She is not looking at her. She does not value or consider her a peer. She may as well have rolled her eyes and stuck her fingers in her ears. And this is another instance of the body language telling it all. In this picture, check out the guy behind her dad. He is disgusted. And Trudeau, who is a master of diplomacy, cannot hide his disdain here. He is looking directly at the camera, and he is frustrated. And he is wondering, what the hell? It's giving Jim from The Office after Dwight has done something incredibly stupid. Theresa May is straight up angry. She's staring daggers into the back of Ivanka's head. She is furious that she has to sit there and take this picture with people she clearly does not consider her peers, does not respect, and quite frankly, doesn't want to be around. And even Shinzo Abe, rest in peace, Mr. Abe, who is famous for his poker face and demure temperament, couldn't help but to just stare off into the distance, lest he spontaneously combust right then and there. For all the training in the world that these individuals had, they could not contain their collective disgust. They were so offended by the Trump's presence. So regardless of who you voted for or what you think about Trump, this is not about that. They did not regard him as a peer. And this is a comparison because we are talking about soft power and hard power in this instance, because all of these individuals in this picture have hard power. But the difference is the sneers and the outright contempt that they show to his face underscores that for all his control over political processes, he has no soft power. He has no diplomatic power. He can't be in a room with anyone and convince them of anything because people just straight up don't like him. He wields his power via demand. And as you can see, the result of that, people don't respect him. They don't like him. They do not respect him. They don't value his insight or his opinion. Nobody spoke to him. I can list a million reasons I think that they reacted like this at the summit. However, topmost of that is that he's just not a very nice person to people. Again, no matter how you feel about him personally, we've all observed that he can get really nasty. And it's not necessarily professional. I would be fired from my job if I said a fraction of that stuff. I'm a director and I have to make sure people are doing their work and take action if they're not. There is a decent, empathetic way to talk to people that you have control or power over. It's completely evident that they don't respect how he talks to people. And it probably didn't help that a few years prior, he literally shoved Montenegro's prime minister out of the way just to be photoed at the front of the pack. It was so shameful, completely undiplomatic, and actually quite childish and embarrassing. I mean, who shoves a man out of the way for no reason, apropos of nothing? It was weird. Ugh. Anyways, another well-known contact Meghan has is with the UN. We all know by now she was an ambassador and speaks passionately about women's rights, education, and aid for young girls in developing nations to avoid period poverty and stay in school. And after her now famous speech at the UN Women's Conference in 2015, Meghan got a long standing ovation from the crowd, which impressively included the then UN Secretary Ban Ki-moon and other powerful leaders. Now, if you have some criticism of this, then you need help at this point. Like professional, inpatient help. When I think back to it, as good as I was doing in 2015 in my career, I wasn't bringing crowds to their feet clapping for me. I was giving a lot of presentations and speeches and traveling and doing a lot of corporate events. I never got any standing ovation from the crowd. And I certainly wasn't accomplishing that in a room full of the most powerful people on earth. So this was a very high honor, and no doubt it solidified her status not only as a soft power wielding ambassador, but as one of the most effective public speakers anyone had ever heard. People were impressed by this speech that she gave. I mean, why else would you give anyone a standing ovation? This, not her royal marriage, this is why she ultimately is where she is. This is why she was able to attract and keep Harry's attention. This is what sets her firmly apart from all the other beautiful women, the supermodels, the high society girls, all the British or European aristocrats Harry could have chosen. Your looks literally only get you through the door. As soon as they're bored with you in that room, you're out. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are. There's a million beautiful women on earth. That is not what gives you honors. That is not what keeps you in these rooms. It's just not. And if you don't want to admit that out loud, fine. But again, BFFR with yourself. To thine own self be true. How many beautiful people make it to this level of notoriety within these political groups? It takes a lot to get here. And it's not her looks. If she were, quote unquote, sleeping her way to the top, we would know that by now. The way the tabloids would have gotten even a small whiff of that, we would have known. Men are not discerning. Somebody would have bragged about bagging the future princess by now. Your looks literally only get you through the door. Meghan has not only been amazingly tactful, but everyone she has ever met, and indeed anyone who has ever spoken about her, have all said that she was intelligent and classy before they mention how beautiful she is. Thank goodness for archives and records in her career that we can trace all of this. Case in point.
Meghan's very special. I think she's very sophisticated, extremely smart, very classy. And overall just a fabulous, fabulous human being.
I think it's wonderful that she just has a larger platform to do the work that she's been doing, and I think Harry's pretty lucky.
And people think of it like, oh, how easy it is to, for you, girl, to go marry this guy, but nobody knows all the very hard things that go with that.
From the very early days of our relationship was that she genuinely seeks to help people.
Meghan she's just super down to earth and really chill, and she always has been that, and she's still like that. And that's why she's I think she'll be really an icon for young girls around the world.
Beauty being far down on the list when you're talking about someone that looks like Meghan is an easy indicator that the people doing the speaking respect her. And in doing this video, you guys wouldn't believe how many of these clips I came across. I just selected the choice highlights, but literally anyone who has ever been asked about Meghan Markle prior to her marrying into that family has said the exact same thing. And if you want to pretend that it's easy to go your entire life without making a single enemy, and in fact having a lot of people really like you, be my guest. But again, you will never heal from your mental illness nor your demons if all you do is lie to yourself every single day. So in 2015, Meghan was working on her diplomatic mission to Rwanda, building wells and helping the villages with clean water. And this is where she snapped this picture with the Rwandan parliamentary delegation to discuss ongoing efforts in gender equality and education. This trip is a coordinated, massive, complex international project conducted by multiple government agencies, with Meghan not only as the face and spokesperson for the project, but you can best believe she was contributing heavily to the project management department. This is soft diplomacy and soft power being yielded to benefit others. This is philanthropy. This is humanitarianism at its core. This is what builds that trust. This is what Meghan spent all her free time doing. This is her passion. She wasn't dreaming of winning Oscars and climbing up that particular social structure, which again, she absolutely could have done. Having been married to an unassuming but quietly powerful Hollywood executive, had she wanted to, she could have worked really hard, teamed up with her husband, and made movies for Academy Awards. She could have absolutely done that. But lucky for all these children and young girls that Meghan worked only to afford her philanthropy, and her philanthropy was her true calling and passion in life. Lucky for us all, I think. In 2015, Meghan also visited Malta after learning her great-grandmother Mary Bird was born in Malta in 1862. And to give you an idea of the amount of political power Meghan had already garnered by this time, she was invited to this trip by the literal Maltese government after they learned that she had Maltese heritage. They wanted her to go and publicize the trip. They wanted her to go and publicize the trip for their benefit. Elle magazine got involved. They wanted a piece of the action. They did the spread. They organized a private tour of the country for her. Meghan held audience with the Maltese government, including a delegation that consisted of Malta's Marquis de Piro and his wife, First Lady Frances de Piro. So this was a really successful tour that Meghan took, and the depictions and the pictures really went over well when they were publicized. And I couldn't help but to think, you know, this is the definition of soft power. If you looked it up in the dictionary, this picture would be right there. This trip took place because Meghan wields soft power. She wields attraction. She garners respect. And, you know, if I didn't know any better, I'd say this was a royal tour. And y'all know I love messing with the haters. So I definitely took it upon myself to make this little infographic. You know, break the statistics down for y'all a bit and kind of just do a side by side. I'm looking at the stats. I'm looking at the data. And it looks to me like all of the hallmarks of the royal tour are there. She was invited by the host country. She had a welcoming committee there. She toured all the important areas of the country. She met with the heads of state. She had official photographers travel with her to take the pictures. The tour was publicized in a popular publication, in this case, Elle magazine. And of course, the whole point of the trip was that tourism and attraction to the country was expected in exchange for their presence. So, I don't know, kind of looked like a royal tour to me. You guys aren't beating those allegations anytime soon. This is the research that I did. But by all means, if you have come across data that says otherwise, enlighten me. But, yeah. And as always, I only ask that if you are going to come, to please do come correct. Do not come into my comments yelling about how she's not good or whatever. Show me. Show me the real scientific data that proves your point, because I've shown you mine. Some of y'all live exclusively on delusion and racism. You don't eat, you don't drink, you just dine exclusively on racism and fear of being the minority and likely a good dose of meth. And that's very sad. So this has been Soft Power. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I had so much fun learning about Meghan's diplomatic life prior to getting married. And it's always kind of bittersweet for me because, you know, looking over all this, she has such a wonderful, fantastic life. And I mourn it sometimes for her. But I'm equally as excited to see what comes next for her. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. What was your favorite soft power diplomacy moment in this episode? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so our channel can grow. Please remember to be kind, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.